going on, everyone? Chris from Pickdawgz.com here with the Wraparound. We're going to be breaking down the NHL action going down on Saturday, October 19th, 2024. If you like this content, make sure you smash that thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you let me know your NHL picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily $15 best bet, head on over to Pickdawgz.com and click the Premium Picks tab at the top of the page. But we got a full card of action on Saturday. Full transparency, haven't had the best last couple days on the ice. Just have had some, just going through one of those grooves. But you know what? It's peaks and valleys all season long. You never get too high, never get too low. I'm loving some of the games on Saturday's card, so we're going to break those down for you in just a second. But again, appreciate all the love and support we've gotten here on the Wraparound this season. Make sure you smash that like button. And let's get ready to make some money. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. You guys know the drill. You ready? I'm ready. Let's get into it. Our first game comes to us from the Canadian Tire Center, where the Ottawa Senators take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the Ottawa Senators, I think we're just at a point where we have to try to figure out which Ottawa Senators team is going to show up. Is it the one that put up 8 goals against the LA Kings, the one that stifled the Florida Panthers earlier this season, or potentially the one that gave up 7 goals in the win against the Kings, or one that put up 1 goal in each of their games against the Devils and the Montreal Canadiens? I feel a lot more sure about what I've seen with Tampa Bay so far this season, who put up 4 goals in each of their first 3 games. The goaltending's been outstanding from Andrei Vasilevskiy, and while head-to-head, the Lightning haven't necessarily had the biggest amount of success against the Senators, I still think they're just the better team here. And while Ottawa could be a team on the upswing this season, I just think right now they're a bit of an unproven commodity. So I'm going to go with the team that I've seen, trusted more from the eye test, and that's the Tampa Bay Lightning here at a coin flip price. Now we head to Bridgestone Arena for a matchup between the Nashville Predators and the Detroit Red Wings. And there are going to be some spots where, as much as I like them on Saturday's card, there are a couple spots where you might have to plug your nose a little bit. And we already saw this matchup earlier this season. It was a 3-0 shutout win for Detroit at home. And, head-to-head between these two teams, the home team has won each of the last 6 meetings between these two teams, including that 3-0 win earlier this season. So, and I think the trend keeps going here. I know Nashville has not looked solid through the first few games of the season. They had the 1-goal loss to Dallas, the narrow loss to Edmonton, and then got also blown out by the Red Wings and the Kraken. But again, I don't believe in teams being due, but Nashville has to be a lot better than what they've shown so far. And the Detroit Red Wings, outside that one win, they've been crushing all their other games this season. They got crushed twice by the Rangers. They got beat up by the Penguins. So for me in this one, I think that the Predators play their best hockey at home. I'm going to take Nashville here, but I'm going to take them to win this one in regulation, sacrifice the overtime, but get this price down to -120, which I feel is a lot more reasonable with the Preds. Now we're going to the American Airlines Center, where the Dallas Stars take on the Edmonton Oilers. And it's a pretty good matchup here between two teams that already faced off in the playoffs last season. But that, I think, is why I'm going with the Dallas Stars here. I'm still not sold on the Edmonton Oilers, even off of back-to-back wins. Maybe I'm being stubborn with the Oilers. Maybe, like I said, I'm going to learn the hard way with Edmonton. But still, I'm still concerned about the goaltending. It looks like Stuart Skinner is going to get the start here for the Edmonton Oilers. I'm still not a Stuart Skinner fan, even though, he did get the win last time we saw him against the Philadelphia Flyers, a game where Edmonton had to bail themselves out of it late. And I don't think that you're going to be afforded those opportunities against the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars, like I said, they've got revenge on their minds after Edmonton ousted them in the conference finals last year in a revenge spot. I got to go with the Dallas Stars to get the job done, as I still think Dallas is one of the most, if not the most balanced team in the NHL this season. Now we head to the Amerant Bank Arena for a matchup between the Florida Panthers and the Vegas Golden Knights. And, this is another one of those spots where I think potentially you might have to just plug your nose here, because I do like the Vegas Golden Knights, but I like them a lot better at home, as the home and road splits this season have been clear that, Vegas is playing well at home and have struggled in their 2 road games. And, they've given up 4 goals in back-to-back games on the road. Now you face a Florida Panthers team that, yes, has been inconsistent, but what we've seen is when they score, they do score in bunches. And they put up 4 or more goals in their 3 wins, and they've scored 2 or less goals in their 3 losses. So seems to me like that magic number is 3. And Vegas, like I said, their goaltending on the road has been shaky. And I think that Florida could do enough here at home where they've tended to play their better hockey for the last couple seasons to at least take care of business here. Again, not when I'm rushing to bet just because the Florida Panthers have done me dirty multiple times this season already, but I'm going to take the Florida Panthers at the coin flip price in this one. Now we're going to the Prudential Center where the New Jersey Devils take on the Washington Capitals. And the New Jersey Devils have gotten off to quite the start this season. I mean, 5-2 straight up. They're 2-1 at home, 3-1 on the road, and I mean that includes those games over in Europe. But I got to say with the Washington Capitals is that they have been really competitive. In their first few games of the season, they picked up a couple of wins even when I didn't think they would. And flat out, head to head with New Jersey, they've actually owned the New Jersey Devils in past seasons. I get that some of that came when the New Jersey Devils were a bit of a laughing stock in the NHL, but the Capitals still 17-4 in the last 21 meetings between these two teams in New Jersey. And last year, Washington won both meetings between these two teams in New Jersey. And I think they can get the job done here, get some revenge. We've already seen this matchup once. New Jersey picked up a 5-3 win in Washington, but I think that the Capitals are playing well enough that they're worth taking a shot on here. I'll sprinkle on the Capitals plus 1.5. I'm also going to lean towards the money line here at plus 158, just based on the head-to-head trends. Not my most confident game on the board, but I definitely think it's worth a value play in this one. Now we head to Scotiabank Arena where the Toronto Maple Leafs take on the New York Rangers. And this is going to be one of the headliner matchups on the card on Saturday, but I still think there's going to be some back and forth here. I think that the Leafs, have been really solid over the course of this 3-game win streak. They beat the Kings 6-2, also beat the Penguins and the Rangers 4-2 in each of those games. But the Rangers have been solid as well. They've scored 4 or more goals in each of their 4 games this season. At times, against teams like Utah, the goaltending was a bit of an issue. Igor Shesterkin is playing well, but now he faces a really potent Toronto offense. And granted, like I said, Toronto, their goaltending isn't the sturdiest. They've gotten great numbers from Anthony Stolarz and Dennis Hill to be out of the gate. But I think this Ranger team is probably going to be the toughest offense they'll have faced as well this season. For me in this one, I know that the goaltending, has been solid, like I said, but I think the offense has come to play here. I'm going to go with the over total of 6. Head-to-head between these two teams, you look at recent meetings. Last year, the 3 meetings, 4-3, 5-2, and 7-3. All the numbers went over the total, and I think that goes over here again. So I'm going to go with the over 6 between the Leafs and the Rangers. Now we're going to this matchup between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Minnesota Wild. And we just saw this matchup earlier this season as well. And it was the home opener for the Minnesota Wild. They won that game in a close one, 3-2. But for me, these are still two teams that both have goaltending issues that are still questionable. But the thing about Columbus is that even with that questionable goaltending, they've still been able to rise up and get the job done in a couple of games. Hell, they beat Colorado on the road 6-4. They beat Buffalo at home 6-4. They even were competitive against Florida 4-3. So I do think the over is in play here because, like I said, I just don't trust Minnesota's goaltending, and I don't feel like I can trust Columbus, who have given up 4 goals in 3 straight games. But I also think Columbus, like I said, can be really competitive, and they almost had that game in the first meeting between these two teams earlier this season. This is a Columbus team that's looking like they're playing with some motivation, with some fire. So I'm going to take the over 6.5. I'm also going to lean towards the Blue Jackets here, plus the 1.5, as well as sprinkle on the money line at plus 143. Now we're heading to a matchup from the UBS Arena where the New York Islanders take on the Montreal Canadiens. And I get why the Islanders are favored here. The Islanders finally got off the schneid last time out. They ended up taking out, a couple games ago, pardon me. They ended up taking out the Avalanche 6-2, but then came back and were shut out for the second time in 3 games in a 1-0 overtime loss against St. Louis. They still were wildly competitive in those games, but it's like, which Islanders team is going to show up? Is it the one that scored 6 goals against Colorado? The one that went back and forth with Utah in a 5-4 OT loss, or the team that was shut out in 2 of their last 3? Same question can be asked of Montreal. Are you going to see the team that shut out the Toronto Maple Leafs and the one that held the Sens to a 4-1 win? Or are you going to see, the team that's given up 10 goals in their last 2 home games? For me in this one, I'm going to lean towards Montreal because head-to-head between these two teams, a lot of the meetings recently have been 1-goal games. And again, I just don't feel like laying this price with the Islanders. And in case this game goes to overtime and I took the Islanders, we'd lose the bet there as well. I'm going to lean towards Montreal plus the goal and a half. It's not my favorite game on the board. That's why I only put that it's lean there, because I really don't have a strong feeling for this game one way or another. Now we're heading to the Wells Fargo Center, where the Philadelphia Flyers take on the Vancouver Canucks. And for me, this game is strictly an over, because I don't trust the goaltending on either side in this game. Again, I can't stress it enough how the Vancouver Canucks desperately look like they're missing Thatcher Demko between the pipes. It's a team that can't rely on Artur Shilovs and Kevin Lankinen to be the goaltenders going forward for very long. With they beat the Florida Panthers last time out, won that game 3-2, but also in the previous 3 games had given up a combined 13 goals. And Philadelphia has been able to provide some value, but they've also given up 16 goals over the course of their 3-game losing streak that they're on. To me, like I said, questionable goaltending on both sides, but both sides can also find the back of the net. I could easily see a 4-3 kind of game here, so I'm going to go with the over 6 in this one. Now we're heading to a matchup between the St. Louis Blues and the Carolina Hurricanes from the Enterprise Center, and another game where I don't really have a strong feeling on it, mainly because the St. Louis Blues, they have been a profitable team at home, and it's like they can show up and play solid defense and get the win, kind of like they did against the Islanders, like we were just talking about. They beat the Islanders 1-0 in overtime at home, but also this is also a team that's given up 4 goals in 3 straight games prior to that. They've struggled in some spots. In Carolina, a team that has solid fundamentals. The goal scoring has been there, but they are on the second half of a back-to-back after we saw Frederik Andersen on Friday. So we'll probably see Peter Kochetkov here. That's why I do lean towards the Hurricanes here. I do think that the Carolina Hurricanes have some of the best regular season goaltending in the NHL. We'll have, obviously, when you get to the playoffs, guys like Freddie Andersen tend to crumble a little bit, but I lean towards the Hurricanes here just because, like I said, to me, they just feel like the more sound team, but another game where truthfully, I just don't have a strong feeling on it one way or another, but I lean towards Carolina. Now we're going to a matchup from the United Center where the Chicago Blackhawks take on the Buffalo Sabres. And I'm trying to get there with Buffalo, them being favored on the road here. They were in the same sort of scenario against the Columbus Blue Jackets last time out as minus 140 favorites and got roughed up in that game. They lost that game 6-4. Goaltending, another team for in the Buffalo Sabres where goaltending continues to be an issue. And while the Chicago Blackhawks have not been anything special, they do have a win over the Edmonton Oilers. They did win their home opener, and I mentioned it in that game against San Jose, even though I was on the Sharks in that game. The Chicago Blackhawks last season won 23 games. 15 of those wins came at home. So it's the Chicago team that plays their much better hockey at home. The Buffalo Sabres, I'm still trying to figure out what this team is going to be. And usually the Buffalo Sabres play well out of the gate and then wait for about a month or 2 into the season when you start to have some hope for this team before they start falling off and racking up the losses. For the Sabres right now, it just looks like they're doing it right out of the gate. They're not even worrying about waiting. So for me in this one, I'm going to lean towards the Blackhawks here at the plus price, like I said, where they play their better hockey. So give me Chicago in this one. Now we head to the Delta Center for a matchup between the Utah Hockey Club and the Boston Bruins. And this is another tricky game because I am so tempted to take the plus money with the Utah Hockey Club. We've only had a couple experiences with them at home, once in the preseason and then once in the regular season. They got the 5-2 win over the Blackhawks. But it's the Boston Bruins on the other side, so it is very tricky. But what I am going to bank on is that we're going to see some goals here. I mean, the Boston Bruins, for what they've been for the better part of the season, or excuse me, the better part of the last couple seasons, a really defensive-minded team, a hard-nosed team. They've been breaking out the goals early on this season. I mean, they've scored 4 or more in more than half of their games this season, but they've also been giving up some goals as well. I mean, 4 of the 5 games this season have seen at least 7 goals. We've seen totals of 5-3, 4-3, 6-4, and 6-4 in their games against Colorado, Florida twice, and Montreal. And like I said, Utah scored 5 in their home opener, 5 against the Islanders, 6 against the Rangers, 4 against Anaheim, and still also gave up 4+ goals in 3 of those games as well. So for me in this one, the numbers just point me to the over 6 here. So I'm going to go with the over 6 between the Bruins and Utah. Our final game takes us to Climate Pledge Arena, where the Seattle Kraken take on the Calgary Flames. And I'll give Calgary credit. You know, this is a Calgary team I expected to be in a rebuild. We're only 4 games into the season, so there are still 75 plus games for that to come to fruition. But look at the first 2 games. Calgary put up 6 and 6. They put up 6 against Vancouver and Philadelphia. They won both those games. They're also, like I said, 4-0 on the year. They also beat Edmonton 4-1. It was a struggling Edmonton team, but an Edmonton team nonetheless. You're defending Western Conference champions. And the Chicago Blackhawks, they held them to 1 goal as well. And now you take on a Kraken team that, yes, has played well themselves. They've scored 13 goals in their last 2 games, 5 or more goals in 3 of their last 4, but they've also given up 3 or more goals in those 3 games as well. And head-to-head, to me, when I look at this matchup, I want to be on the side with the plus money here, because head-to-head, the Flames have never lost in Seattle. They're 6-0 against the Kraken at Climate Pledge Arena. The road team has won 7 in a row in this series, so I'm going to take the Flames here at plus 124 to round things out. That's it. That's all the NHL action for Saturday, October 19th, 2024. If you like this content, make sure you smash that thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. Make sure you let me know your NHL picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily $15 best bet, head to pickdawgz.com. Click the premium picks tab at the top of the page. I'm going to have some NHL on the board for you guys. We're going to go heavy on the college football action as well, as we normally do on Saturdays. But I'll tell you, this is a great time to jump on long term. I can only speak for myself, but usually on these college football Saturdays and just Saturdays in general, with how much action is going on, buying the long-term passes is actually less than buying each of the daily individual packages, and it gets you access to all the plays I make, whether it's NFL on Sunday, college football on Saturday, NBA starts Tuesday, NHL is in full swing. We still got MLB playoffs as well. College basketball is it's only actually a couple weeks away now that I look at the calendar, so definitely a great time to jump on. But whatever you choose to do, make sure you use the promo code PICK at checkout for an additional 15% off your purchase. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys.